Campbell and Slater, welcome to the Way of Champions podcast. It's an honor to have you guys on.
Thank you for having us.
You
Thank
know,
you for having us, John.
yeah, this is really cool for me because I've known both of you guys for a long time in your life, and we've had, so many athletes on here, Olympic champions, world champions, professionals, and I've gotten to watch you two basically grow up in sport. Campbell, since kindergarten when you first met my son TJ, and then Slater, you're probably 9 or 10 years old, or I think when you moved here to Bend, and got to coach you for a couple of years in soccer and everything. And so, we've done 440 plus podcasts here. And what we've never done one is really with two young guys like yourselves, just finished high school, who are already at Campbell at the top level of swimming, and Slater just drafted into Major League Baseball and pursuing that. And I just want to explore your path here today. So this is a really unique opportunity for me, and I think for our listeners as well, to understand what the path is of a young athlete who really has the goals to go to the next level. So, Campbell, I mean, I did an intro off kind of about you, but I mean, you just got back from the World Championships in swimming, right? Bronze
Yeah.
medal there. Two national championships when you skipped high school graduation this year. So it's coming fast and furious these days, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Ted, talk about like you're committed. You're going to University of Texas, but like, what was it like this summer to win that national championship? Did you go into it knowing that you had a chance, thinking that you had a chance?
Yeah, I definitely was going into that meet with high expectations for myself because I had a meet just a month before, and I was up there with the pros, and I definitely had a chance. Thought I had a chance going into the meet. Um, and I think that first night was kind of an off event, but I think it set myself up well for the nights following.
Yeah, yeah. 50, 100 meter champ. I know I watched the video after you won the 50, and you were pretty darn excited.
Yeah, I don't think I've been that excited over a swimming race in my life.
Yeah. And then that qualified you to go to the World Championships in Singapore. I don't know how many of our listeners follow swimming closely, but one of the things that happened with the U.S. team there in Singapore is a bunch of you got sick, and sadly, you were one of those people, weren't you?
Yeah, definitely
And
got it pretty bad.
yeah, and so there you are at your first World Championships, and you're just like suffering, huh?
Yeah, I was kind of over it by the time I started racing. I was starting to eat a little bit more, but I think I was down 15 pounds when I was racing. So yeah,
It's brutal, man, brutal. Um, Slater, your path. Here you are. You're down in Florida right now, with Baltimore Orioles. What's the level that you're at right now?
Okay. Yeah, so right now I'm in the Comfort Inn and Suites in Sarasota, Florida, just off the highway, and I'm in the lowest level of professional baseball that there is, or I guess the second lowest, besides the complex in the Dominican Republic. This is the complex in America, not even in the minor leagues yet, really. It's kind of a training facility. We got a weight room, we got a bunch of cages, we got four fields. And what we do every day is go to the facility, um, activate our bodies, hit, run. We do a lot of running, and then lift, and then eat. We're not playing any games right now, just 100% training. And the goal is to get to an affiliate team of the big league team, which is in Delmarva, Maryland, the first level, the low A level. And so all of us here are doing our best to try to get to low A, which is in, like I said, Delmarva, Maryland.
And so you're surrounded by all the sort of other draft picks and free agent types who are just kind of just getting their
Correct.
foot in the door.
Yes, sir. So we have, I would say, mostly Latin guys here right now. So a lot of Venezuelans, Dominicans, a Cuban, one Mexican kid, and uh, and then all the draftees. There was like 25 of us because the Orioles had a bunch of draft picks this year. And then the college hitters that they drafted, um, all since they're 3 years older than I am. I'm 18. They're 21 when they're drafted because they you get drafted after your junior year of college or when you're 21.
Mm.
They go to Delmarva, the low A team, much faster than us high schooler kids because they have 3 years on us. So they kind of got to kickstart their development and get into the big leagues because they got 3 years less than us. So a bunch of them have already gone up to Delmarva, and it's kind of just us here right now.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I would think like going back to, this is probably the least amount of games of baseball that you've played in your life because youth
Yeah,
baseball is so much about game after game after game, and now you're actually training and practicing and getting better every day. How is that different,
yeah.
and how is that helpful in your development?
Yeah, it's I trained a lot in Bend. I trained really hard and I put a lot of hours into baseball. But here, what's different is it's much more diversified. It's less time spent on a single skill, and but still a great amount of time spent on many different skills. So, like instead of 3 hours of hitting, which is what I would do in Bend, it's 45 minutes of hitting, 45 minutes of base running, 45 minutes of fielding, 45 minutes of activation, 45 minutes lifting, just so much more diversified. And I've never had that. So I'm hoping that that kind of opens up like some new gains for me.
That's awesome. Well, I want to dive into both of you guys growing up, and Campbell with you first. I mean, your parents are both swimmers, so you were into swimming from a very young age. And talk about like growing up as a swimmer. I'm not really super familiar. Did you do any other sports at all, or were you just swimming the whole time through?
Yeah, I definitely start. I started out swimming, and I mean, both my brothers swam too, and they also they were put in soccer, like Parks and Rec. So my parents put me in that too. And then one of my brothers got put in wrestling, and then my parents thought I'd like to do that, so they put me in that, and I hated it. And then I just did swimming and soccer, and then in about I think middle school, like fifth grade, it just went all to swimming. So like that was the best chance for me.
Yeah. What'd you hate about wrestling?
Uh, the only memory I have is this one practice where this bigger set kid kind of pinned me and I couldn't breathe. So I said that was enough for me.
That was enough. Oh man, that's funny. They say once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy, and I don't know too many people who disagree with that. I was a wrestler growing up for many years, and until I think middle school when I stopped, when the same thing, I took a severe beating and was like, yeah, I think that's enough of this for me as well. So, right. So you did this, you played. I mean, I remember you were just this really good all around athlete. But from a young age, like swimming was always your thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember like not I mean, I definitely was put in swim lessons, but I feel like I just went straight into club swimming. I don't really have any memories from swim lessons or anything. Just
Your mom was a
that young.
coach too, right? If I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
I think
Yeah,
she coached from memory. I think she coached me right when I started
yeah,
or a little bit after.
yeah. So you were around this, and both your parents were swimmers, so you sort of had this background. How did they help you on this journey? Like, how did they help you um, understand the swimming journey? Because swimming's not for everyone either. It was a lot of sort of lonely moments with your head down in the water. Did that fit your personality and stuff?
Um, I mean, yeah, they helped me a lot throughout the years, being supportive and everything. But I think them just like they kind of try to stay out of the way as much as possible because they know how much of a sport it is in your head because you're standing in a black line for 2 hours of practice. Um, but yeah, they kind of just like let me do my thing and they wouldn't push anything. Like if I had early morning practice and I didn't want to go, they didn't force me to go, but they knew that they told me that if I didn't go, it hurt my performance. But and I listened to them, which was very helpful. But yeah, they've always been supportive, and I feel like having it be a mental sport for me is definitely hard, but I think it's good, definitely good for the mental aspect.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a little bit because I think all sports are have this mental aspect, but I just want to touch on this before I bring Slater back in. I like how you said your parents were kind of, they weren't pushy and they said, yeah, you don't have to go, but they were also sort of honest with you at the same time. Like you don't have to do this, but if this is your goal, then you kind of do. Right? Like they
Yeah,
sort of helped you align your goals with your inputs and the little things you were going to do along the way.
yeah. They definitely were not like very strict on what I had to do.
But at the same time, they were honest with what you had to do. Like, hey, if you want to be a collegiate swimmer, you have to do this. If you want to be an international swimmer, you have to do this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And that was helpful. You appreciated that.
yeah, definitely. I wouldn't want anything different.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's such a big thing for parents. Slater, your background is different because I mean, when I first knew you, you were playing soccer, you were playing basketball, you were playing baseball, so you were definitely the multi-sport guy growing up, weren't you?
Yeah, I played soccer was my number one, and basketball my number two, and baseball my number three. Quite honestly, and I was much better at soccer than either of those until I stopped working hard at soccer.
And you just kind of fell more in love with baseball, I think, along the way. I mean, I remember talking to your dad about this when you were sort of, I think at that point basketball kind of faded out and it was baseball and it was soccer. And I remember your dad saying to me, when we go out in the backyard, he wants to have a catch or he wants to go to the batting cage. He doesn't want to go shoot soccer balls. But that was led by you. That wasn't your mom or your dad saying, Slater, it's got to be baseball.
Yeah, I mean, basketball outgrew me number one, and to your point, baseball was like a very natural love for me. And you're right, I wanted to like playing catch was like that was the thing for me. I love playing catch, and I would definitely have rather gone to the batting cage than shoot soccer balls, which you might not like to hear as my youth soccer coach, but in the end, like if you love something, that's the thing that you should pursue, and that's luckily what my parents allowed me to do. I know that sounds crazy that some parents wouldn't, but some parents want their kid to do something, and my parents weren't like that, and they certainly weren't baseball players either, but they let me chase my dreams, and I'm just lucky and blessed that I had parents that allowed that for me.
Yeah. Well, so I'll share a story with everyone here about you, Slater. The first time I saw you play soccer, I wasn't coaching. I was just a dad on the sidelines, and TJ was on your team, and you were so competitive. You're flying around the field. You made like three kids cry from flying into them and tackling them, and some parents had heard that I was going to coach the next year, and they're like, "So what are you going to do about Slater?" And I'm like, I don't know, like clone him, make more? Like that's awesome, you know? But you always had this like super competitive drive. I mean, I'll just call it like you just wanted to win so badly that whether it was soccer or, in baseball, like you were just willing to do whatever it took. And I don't think that's something you can give a kid. Like that was in you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard, and I baseball's obviously a non-contact sport in the way that it's a ball being thrown 60 feet to another person, where I do miss that kind of like impact, like in soccer, that the effort can completely change a game. Like just how hard you try can change the result of the game, both for the team and for yourself. And that's why I exceeded in soccer because I wasn't really technically gifted. Like, sure, during COVID, I could juggle a lot because I practiced every day, but I wasn't that, like, I wasn't like that kid that could do a bunch of little soccer tricks. Like, I played with power and speed and just like ran as fast as I could. And so I miss that in baseball. You can't really do that. It's a very like technical sport. But yeah, I did that. That was why I exceeded at soccer, and I don't know where it came from. Maybe from watching a lot of soccer on TV when I was a kid, like Barcelona bandwagon, 2016, 2015, 2014. Maybe that's where it came from, but I think it is hard to teach.
Hmm. Yeah. Campbell, did you like, were you always like super competitive as well when you were younger and didn't win a race or something? Would you get upset or how were you?
Um, I can't really say that I was like bummed when I lost the race. Definitely put fire to the stove to want to win the next one, but I say I was more just having fun when I was definitely when I was younger.
That's good.
How
I mean,
important
I
was
always
that?
tried to compete with my brothers.
Okay, so
Right.
yeah, so you're now are you the youngest of three, is it?
Yeah, youngest of three, two older brothers.
Yeah. So that changes things like when your whole life you're like competing for the last piece of cake and and they're always faster and bigger and stronger and can smack
Yeah,
you around a bit, right?
yeah, that's when I'm getting wrestled the most. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get the last piece of cake.
Yeah. But I mean there's something to be said, there's evidence out there that a lot of people who do achieve highly in sports are not the oldest child, they're younger because it's like you've
That's
been
interesting.
competing your whole life. Like everything you're
Yeah.
competing for attention, you're competing for food, you're competing, you know, you go to their practices and they're already faster and so you're just trying to keep up for so long that it just kind of becomes more of your personality. Is that you feel that is speaks to you?
Yeah, definitely. Because like I'd go to their practice or like hear about it, and I try to do the same or even better and compare myself to them and see how much I can do to be better or about the same.
Oh, that's awesome. So, Slater, back to you. Like, when I remember talking to you when you chose baseball, and you were just like, Coach, like I love soccer. And first of all, I'll say it doesn't hurt me at all, like that you weren't practicing soccer. Like, I think some of my proudest coaching moments are when I create the space for someone to love soccer and something else and be like, coach, like I still love soccer because I don't think you didn't stop playing because you didn't love it. You just loved baseball more and
No,
saw that as your path. And
correct.
so I think that's coaching right there. When you're working in the youth space, I take great pride in the kids who became a, competitive skier or baseball player or basketball player. Because I think that to me is amazing. So
Yeah.
what point, what was it when you're like, it's baseball here?
Um, I think that I mean, I can give you a year. I think in kind of like 2019, the Washington Nationals, which was the team that I was a fan of because my uncle lives in DC. Before I ever played baseball, I watched it on TV, and that started in 2017. But in 2019, they won the World Series, and I think that's probably when I realized like my ultimate goal is to win the World Series to this day, and will be for my career. And I think that's kind of when I got that goal when I watched the Nationals win the World Series, and they started that year 19 and 31, 19 wins, 31 losses, and anybody that knows baseball knows that's terrible, and that's terrible for any sport to be 19 and 31. But they turned their season around and won that World Series. And so I think it was that moment. And yeah, it wasn't even me playing, just me watching on TV.
Yeah, and just so excited and whatever. Um, when you made that switch, when you said, "Okay, I'm going all in on baseball," and you stepped away from soccer, what did that look like? I mean, I remember having coffee with you year and a half ago or whatever, and you just telling me, hey, my high school life is different than most kids, right? Like I'm not
Yeah.
going out every weekend. I'm focused. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing that. So talk about how your life was different than many of your peers.
Yeah. Baseball consumed my life because I started late and I had catching up to do basically. Bottom line, I had to spend more time than other kids to get to where they were. So that meant that when other kids were doing recreational activities or doing nothing, I had to be doing something. And that kind of feeling and impulse absolutely still exists with me today because now I'm in a new environment with new people, but I can still make up that ground. If I do one more rep, I don't like this is kind of where my mind takes over, and it's not always in a positive way. It's a little impulsive sometimes, but one more rep, one more minute of doing something, one more yeah, like a little more focus or attention to detail. That's how I got to step up on everybody each and every day.
Mhm.
Um, you know, you got to be careful with separating that from like your non-sport life, because if I have that intensity and need for perfection and always wanting one more in my regular life, it can be very dangerous. But that is what got me in my sport to improve, I believe.
And you, I mean, you had, I think it's interesting you bring this up because I remember during COVID, was when your budding rap career began, when we were
Yeah.
doing team Zooms and you you recorded songs for like one of the guys on the team and everything. And we're all laughing about it, but that's something that you still do now. Like you, when you're in for baseball, it's you're on, right? And then when that's
Yeah.
over, you shut it off. I mean, you don't shut it
Yeah.
off like you're careful about what you eat, sleep, things like that. But like, you know, I also have this identity
Yeah.
outside of baseball. That's important. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's been a big part of my life. It's tough because in the comfort and suites where I am right now, can't make music. So I've only been here for 3.5 weeks, but I'm trying to find other stuff that like I can really like build my identity around. I have not necessarily found that yet. I want to play guitar and stuff, but it's important to have that sort of thing. And when I was in Bend at home, living a more regular life and still doing the training, what I did outside was make music and sing. And so I was Lil Slay is like my identity, and it kind of does cross over the field. Like I think it helps kids like know something about me that's vulnerable, helps them connect with me. They not really make fun of me, but they drop some jokes on me, and it's like nice because it's like another side of somebody, and they can connect with it, and they think it's funny or bad or cool, whatever it is. But yeah, it's me.
Yeah, I love it. Campbell, how about you? How did you sort of get out of the pool so that you could recover, so you could do this other stuff?
Uh, I don't really do much outside of the pool. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
I mean, I used to go like to Cars and Coffee with TJ a couple
yeah,
times to take pictures. Yeah, I enjoy photography, but I feel like swimming definitely takes a lot of time for me,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
feel like I can't really do much. I don't know.
But you were a good student too, and to be fair, like, the last time I saw you in person was your graduation from dual immersion. You're
Yeah,
a fluent Spanish speaker and everything as well. Like, you guys went and did this whole other academic path and in a different language as well. Like, what's interesting though, I remember my son and you were so close in school, and yet I was like, Campbell, he can never do anything out of school because he's got to be in the pool at 5 a.m. or he's there at night or he's off to this meet. And so it was really all encompassing for you, wasn't it?
yeah. I think that was kind of a hard thing to deal with because um, I felt like for me it was really hard to connect with school friends outside of school, at least for a swimmer, because we're always up really early and trying to go bed early. Whereas hanging out with other swimmers, they understand the circumstances you have, and not saying hanging out with school friends is bad, but um, I just wish I wish I could have like engaged more and had more time to hang out with more school friends.
It's interesting though, because it's like you guys are still so early on the path of what you want to accomplish. Um, And so, you're too it's too early to have regrets on it, right? You're still on the path. You're a national champion. Slater, you're a, first round draft pick in baseball. It's like you guys are doing all this stuff, and yet you make trade outs. I mean, I remember talking to my kids about sports, and I would talk to my son who says, "Well, okay, I want to be better at soccer. I want to be better at this." And like, well, hey, look, like here's your friend, right? Look at the choices that he's making and you're choosing to do this, which is great, which is fun, but you can't have both, right? You
Yeah.
couldn't go out every night with your friends if you have to be in the pool at 5 a.m. Something's got to give. So for you, like that goal of being a collegiate swimmer, being a national champion, like did that make it doesn't mean the choices are easy, but like that's what you weighed your choices against, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I was always thinking about what could help me or benefit me in swimming and what could drag me down. And I definitely weighed the pros and cons between the two, and I chose the more pros route. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's good. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember doing something for Ben's swim club with athletes, and it was all like the upper level high school age athletes. And then they put you in that room. You were in like seventh grade or something like that. And so everyone was like much older than you, but something about your coaches that time said, Campbell's got something here. And we were talking about goal setting, and we were talking about the different choices that you get to make all the time, that a lot of these things are a choice, and you can put a tick in the moving towards elite performance column, or you can put a tick in the moving away from it. And so it's interesting. I don't know if you would even remember that talk, but of course, since I knew you, I was always like, wow, like Campbell's like 5 years younger than everyone else in this room.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I do not remember this talk.
There you go. Well, I had no impact on your life then. That's good. Yeah. But yeah, you made those choices. I mean, Slater, for you as well. Like you made these choices, right? Like you had, you know, go out on the weekend or go to the batting cage and things like that. I mean, talk about those sort of things.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember so many times where I said no to floating the river, said no to doing something fun, and instead chose to go to the batting cage. But for me, it's not like people say it's a sacrifice, but I have a lot of love for baseball where it's not a burden to say no to those things. Obviously, I want to hang out with my friends and do those things, but um, I want to win the World Series and be a impactful big leaguer more than I want to do those fun things. So if you think about it that way, it's like pretty easy decision. And I did surround myself with friends that in Bend that supported me in that way and wouldn't ditch me as friends or get mad at me if I chose not to hang out with them. So that was good and nice on their part, and good job finding friends on my part. But so I would understand if somebody like me, Campbell, had less regular school friends because we do a lot more serious athletic stuff, and it takes time away from the average teenager activities for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, Camel, did you also, between your parents and your brothers and other, like seek out people who understood that for you as well? Because again, it's very hard to disappoint your peers, and that's when you need a coach or need a adult in your life sometimes, or another peer to be like, you know, those those guys don't have the same dreams and ambitions you do. So they're making different choices than you are. Did you feel like you were able to do that as well?
Yeah, I was definitely able to make decisions easily to not do those fun things. Um, Somehow all my friends wanted to do fun things right before my big meets, and I always had to say no. I was like, I gotta sleep. But yeah, I think it was pretty easy for me.
Just because you were that focused. How let's kind of dive in more to both of your parents, and Campbell, I'll start with you. Like what sort of sacrifices and commitments did your parents have to make to keep you on this path once you really said, "Hey, I'm going down this path"?
I think um I don't really I can't speak on their part, but I'd say just keeping me in the sport. Actually, um I guess yeah, just traveling to meets, all pretty far away because not swimming's not much of a big sport in the Pacific Northwest,
Hmm.
compared to other places. But yeah, they're always there at the meets supporting me. Um, yeah, I don't know.
What kind of
I'm
stuff
gonna
would
have to think about
they
that.
say to you when you were racing, like right after? Would they coach? Would you ask them? Would you be like, "Hey, how do you think I did out there?" I mean, obviously in swimming you have a time, right? That
Yeah,
says, "Hey, this is how I did." So there's something objective to it. But would they, would you be like, "Hey, how do you think I did? How were my turns?" or something like that that they could coach you on, or did they kind of leave you alone and leave you to your coaches?
they left me alone on the coaching part unless I asked them,
Mm.
which was probably is something that I really liked because I would honestly would get really mad and annoyed if my dad like told me something that I was doing and then I knew I wasn't doing that and it would annoy me a lot. But I think he learned that just to leave me be and have my coaches coach me. And then if I asked the question on how I looked and what he thinks I could do better, he would tell me, and that'd be super beneficial. My my mom didn't really she uh she kind of stayed out of it. She didn't feel like she needed to coach me. Um, but she was always like, if she thought I had a bad race, she was always reassuring me that it was perfectly fine and I looked good. So
Yeah.
yeah, super helpful.
I love that though. It was sort of like when you invited them in, they gave their input, but you owned the journey, right? And this is what so many athletes say, like owning the journey. It's got to be your goals, it's got to be your journey, not them living vicariously through you. And that sounds like how they supported you.
Yeah, they let me control on how I swam and how I performed, which is really helpful.
Love it. Slater, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, my parents, specifically my dad, sacrificed his own hobbies as far as surfing, and an absurd amount of time in his work to support my dreams, and for like that meant traveling. That meant, at the end of the day, many thousands of dollars from plane flights, Airbnbs, hotels, gas money, team fees, equipment, and number one, I'm blessed to have, a family that has enough money to support me in that way in the first place. But number two, a father with a flexible work schedule where he pushed that to the side to be able to walk with me on this journey. And that doesn't just mean travel, but in the cage, in the batting cage in Bend for 3 4 hours every day. So he's sacrificing his whole afternoon. Um, I can count on, one finger how many trips he took during this. I've been training hard for about 3.5 4 years now. I can count on one finger how many times he's took a trip in the middle of those years, that has disrupted my training. And it was when his best friend died. So he literally never stepped away from me. And so yeah, he changed his life for me, which I don't take for granted. So you can say that that's a father's job to do, but I know a lot of fathers that didn't do that for their kids. So I call that lucky and blessed.
Mm.
And my mom obviously doesn't train with me every day, but she's the one that keeps me sane and keeps me being a good person. I skipped college, at least collegiate. Like right now, I skipped college. I can always go back. Um, but for now, I'm not going to college. So she doesn't want me to be a dry person that's just a baseball player. So that's just as important as baseball, even if I don't want to admit it. She's got my back on that part, and she's asking me if I'm reading, which unfortunately I'm saying no right now. But I'm telling her I'm learning Spanish, like that's my thing right now. But that's what my parents have done for me.
Yeah. You know what? I know your parents much better than I know Campbell's parents, and all the time that I've spent with them, one of the thing I've noticed because I knew especially your dad, you guys would get in the van and disappear for weeks at a time in the summer, going to these events and stuff. Um, but what I never saw from your parents was like them living vicariously through you,
Yeah.
right? Your dad never once said, "We got 4 hits today" or whatever. Like it was always you, and he was just, I think, happy and grateful that he could support your journey, that he had the ability to do it, the work
Yeah.
schedule to do it, but also it was always your journey, and both you probably don't know this, but both your parents would like reach out to me of like, your mom be like, hey, is there a good book for him on
Yeah,
this? Or your dad be like, hey, you
yeah,
got a good podcast on this topic or whatever.
yeah,
Like them trying to keep you well rounded, try to keep you grounded and stuff like that. Like they were
yeah.
always, how can we input, but they never were, they were your parents. They weren't your sidekick, if you will.
No, no, my dad especially because he's the one at every game and stuff, completely emotionally detached from my performance, and that's important because as soon as your dad's getting on you in the car, same thing in swimming, like you're saying, like I get so annoyed, but I don't know if I would because that's never even happened to me, but I assume I would get annoyed. You don't you know when you suck, you know when you've done bad, you know when you've lost. You don't need another person to tell you that. You just need to learn from it. So if I ask my dad for tips or I ask my dad to look for something, he'll observe and he will tell me what he sees. But past that, if I don't ask for anything, I don't get anything, and that's a really good thing.
Mm. Um, Sticking with you, Slater, and then Campbell, I want to throw this question to you as well. A lot of the athletes who make it to the top level of the world that I've gotten to speak to, or the people who support them, they talk about the difference between the people who make it and the people who fall short of the ones who make it own their development.
Yeah,
And what they mean is that they don't just go to practice for 3 hours, but they go to practice with a really specific idea in mind of this is what I'm going to get better at today. So, you're going to the cage and you're not just, taking 200 swings. Like, are you taking 200 swings to do this with your body position, your elbow, I mean, like, talk about how
yeah,
specific you get every time you step out there so that at the end of that hour or whatever, yeah, I just got better at that.
yeah. That's first of all, that's everything. I go into the cage often with a different focus every day. Sometimes it's a week at a time. I'm trying to change something on my swing or trying to work on something. But interestingly enough, your body and your mind are synced up different every day. So your swing will feel different every day. So you need to, some days I'm thinking about squeezing a ball in my back elbow when I swing. Some days I'm thinking about stomping on a tennis ball with my front foot. It's like these little physical cues that have nothing to do with the actual swing, and there's a new one every single day. So number one, I try to identify what I'm going to need that day as fast as I can every day. But then number two, obviously, intent between every single rep. I have been here 3.5 weeks in Florida at the Orioles complex, and you can see that not everybody it is professional baseball. Everybody has absurd talent here. Don't get me wrong, but not everybody has people rush through things. People still rush through things, and it's a professional sport. People still just try to get stuff done as fast as they can to get out of there. And I feel so much more. I like that people do that because that's where I get my gains. I'm 5'9". I'm not going to get my gains from that natural talent, that natural size. That's where I get my gains from doing what those people aren't. So just know you get to the epitome of baseball. I can't speak on other sports, but it's still not common to have that intention to detail. So if you have that when you're a kid, you're doing something right.
Yeah, I love it. Campbell, what about you when you jump in the pool? Like, obviously, the coaches will, here's the program, here's what we're going to swim today. So there's that structure to it. But do you and your coach or you on your own pick a specific area of focus so that you get out of the pool and be like, okay, I got better at my turns today, or I got better at this today?
I wouldn't say there's like specific things I focus on throughout the whole practice. There's definitely specific sets like built for like working on my turns or underwaters, and I'll focus on that. But I normally just give my all at every practice because there's no point in holding back. You're just
Hmm.
gonna not get all the gains you need. Um, but to go off of what Slater said, when you can tell when people aren't giving their all, and it's almost funny to me to see people go to like practice or the weight room and just like kind of lollygag around. You're like, why are you even here? I mean, that's obviously with my club teammates, but I think I think just giving your all and your focus on the little things is super helpful. And you can definitely tell a difference between the people who do give 100% and the people who give like 90.
Yeah. I love that you said that because again, even at the top, it's noticeable, right? And it's like you're people have called this in sport like the aggregation of marginal gains. Like, how do you get a little bit better, a little bit better? Now, if you go and give 90% for a day, it's not noticeable. You do it for a week, it's not noticeable. But over time, that adds up, right? And over time, that focus, that specificity, and that like I'm just gonna leave it all out there each time I work out. Um, Over time, that's that upward curve versus and that separates you from the person who doesn't. Right. And that, I mean, this is what I've learned over the years is that in every sport, almost everyone can tell me, of someone on their team when they were young who was better than them or had more ability than them. And it's almost always this mentality thing that's the separator at the top. The best golfers, the best baseball players, the best soccer players is like, yeah, they had that, but they didn't have the mentality to overcome mistakes, to deal with bad days, all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, you're both seeing that right now. But I mean, Campbell, would you like to comment on that? And then Slater, like you both kind of just hit on it. But I think this is a really important point to make.
Sorry. What was the overall question on that?
Well, just like what, that mentality piece and that ability to focus, like where did that come from and how important is that to you? Do you notice the difference of someone who is maybe better than you, younger, and now you've separated yourself from them?
Yeah, I think just overall that like mentality of wanting the highest level of the sport you're in, like baseball or swimming. I think just having that mentality of always wanting it is like kind of what obviously like what you said sets us apart. But like if you don't want it, you're obviously not going to try to get it, and you're just there to. I feel like almost like people's parents are not making them, but like they feel like they need to go and they don't need to give 100%. Whereas I want to go and I want to have that mindset of wanting to get better every day because I have a chance to get better every day. So I'm going to take that chance to get everything out of it.
Was part of that commitment? I mean, people who don't know you, Campbell, you have a 28 tattoo on your shoulder, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That was a temporary tattoo.
So what though? You put it on there, which was like,
Yes.
which said to the world what?
The goal is LA 28.
Yeah,
That was the director of the junior national team last year handed them out to the whole team to hype us up, and they gave it to the national team this last at in Singapore to give everyone else a mindset of what the goal is.
yeah, yeah. I mean, when you even though it was temporary, I mean, like to put that on there and like that's this like big public commitment. Because if I'm not mistaken, that was your Instagram profile photo with that big 28 on your shoulder for a while as well. Maybe it
Yeah,
still
I
is.
think it was. I mean, I know it's not my profile picture right now, but I know on my most recent post it was the caption that the goal was LA 28.
Yeah, yeah, the epitome of it. Um, Slater, what about you on that question and that attention to detail? And you said I want to play in the I want to win a World Series. Like, how do you how do you get from winning a World Series to where you are today in the Comfort Inn in Sarasota, Florida? Like, how do you measure your progress day to day to know I'm getting better, I'm moving towards it, I'm moving towards it?
Yeah, I mean, you can get lost real quick here. I mean, that's why there's a lot of people in my position that will never get to the major leagues um, in the first place. So it's easy to get lost. And I think the first thing is having defined goals. And Campbell and I both have those. He wants to be in the Olympics in 28. I want to win the World Series. My other defined goals are big leagues, and this one's a little less defined by 3 to 4 years, 3 or 4 years. I want to be in the big leagues. Obviously, there's stuff I can't control, like injuries that could derail that or make it a little bit longer, or an injury in front of me that makes it faster because I'm moving up, so I can go both ways, of course. That's a little less controllable, but that's another defined goal I have. And so for some people, that's writing it down. I don't feel like I need to write it down to remember it, so I don't necessarily write it down. It's very present in my mind. But yeah, when you're in the complex, the way that you're taking a step forward towards that goal every day is if when you're on the bus coming back from the facility and you're exhausted and you get in your bed and you think, did I win today? Or did I learn today? Or did I win and learn today? Or did I just learn today? Either way, you got the learn or the win. If you win, you got better,
Mm.
with some asterisks. Typically, when we're not playing games, if you win, you're either winning a drill or you're doing well. That's what winning is when you're doing drills. So that means you got better, or you failed at the drill, and therefore you learned from the drill. As professional baseball, I'm straight out of high school, so there's a lot of failing, and therefore there's a lot of learning. And if I feel like I have a check mark on either one of those boxes, win or learn, I've taken. I don't know if it's 1% better every day. That'd be pretty insane if you could get 1% better every day, but maybe it's 0.25% every day. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably a little more accurate.
How important still is the joy and love of playing? I mean, Slater, when you got signed by the Orioles, you shared a video, of you in Camden Yards looking out over the field, and you said, "I feel like a kid again." Um,
Yeah.
and I think it's so like feeling like that kid who first fell in love with baseball is something you never want to lose. So talk about the importance of joy, even when it's hard, even when it's frustrating, even when you're struggling.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of failing in baseball, different than any other sport. And like I was saying earlier, it doesn't like more effort doesn't mean more effort in the gameplay doesn't mean better results. So that's one of the things that I just don't like about baseball, but who cares? Like the game doesn't care how you feel. So yes, you have to love it. That's baseline. I mean, like I've said too many times, I'm sitting in a comfort inn. I live in a hotel. Even if I'm in an affiliate, I'm still living in a hotel for 6 months of the year. I'm not seeing my family. I'm not seeing the people that matter to me. So the only thing that I have is my love for baseball and, the few hobbies that I'm able to do. Um, so you have to love the game. And then with the failure aspect, you fail so much. You have to be addicted to the process and love the process. So for me, obviously, I love succeeding in the game. Everybody does. It's the easy part to love succeeding. But I do love hitting in the cage. I love warming up for games. I love hitting after games. And I love analyzing games. So I
Mm.
love all these things that are disconnected from the actual result.
Mhm.
Therefore, I get down on myself when I fail, but I love the overall process of baseball. So it kind of pulls me out of the pit a little bit.
Hmm. Love it.
Yeah.
Campbell, you still love swimming? Did you describe it as fun staring at that black line for 2 hours at a time?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's way more fun when you're not like practicing by yourself. Like I'll have times where like my team will go to a meet and I have to stay back and train by myself, and that's probably the least fun I have
Mm.
throughout the year. But I think just being able to practice with people you like and are fun to hang out with and make practice fun. Um, I love that part. Racing is probably um, another fun part because you go to meets and you see other people that you haven't seen from across the country, and you get to hang out with them and race them, and
Hmm.
then you also get to meet new people, and I think it's all fun.
Yeah.
There's times
Um,
that I don't think it's fun, but we can set
but you
those
still
aside.
want to show up and do it again the next day. Like I think that's the difference between like
Yeah.
fun and joy, like it's still joy, even though that wasn't that fun a workout when I was suffering and felt like puking, but I still love swimming. I still want to go do it
Yeah,
again.
for sure. Like
Yeah.
I go back and back every day.
Yeah. What I mean, I thought it was really interesting that I don't want to let slide because I get people who are like, "Oh, my kid's a swimmer,
The
so
swimmer.
team doesn't matter." But you just said how important it is, that team environment and the camaraderie, that even though you're the one racing outside of relay, you're training on your own. It's not your interaction with other swimmers, but being in that team environment makes a difference, doesn't it? Like the culture on the deck, how serious people are, how hard people are working, that makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like if I love having someone to race against in practice because then it just helps you get better, but you're also having fun at the same time, and they really push you. And then you go to a meet, and you guys might be racing in the meet too. And then, um, and at a collegiate level, it's definitely like the college champion NC2As is way more of a team sport than I'd say individual. I mean, everyone has to do their part, but the overall goal is to win it as with points. And I
Right.
think at those meets, the relays are probably the most important part and
Yeah.
probably the most fun part to watch as a spectator too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I think they definitely are because there's probably because there's just so many more things that could go wrong.
Yeah,
Like there's more uncertainty in it. So yeah.
yeah.
Last little bit for you guys before we sign off here. Um, one of the biggest performance destroyers is this sort of like fear of other people's opinions, right? Fear of what other people say about you that can just erode your confidence or your self-belief, or you can just get so caught up in it. I mean, Slater, I gotta guess, when you get drafted, there's plenty of friends saying, "Hey, well done," and there's the haters out there as well. Campbell, for you, right? You're the 18-year-old guy coming and winning a national championship, and someday there'll be some 18-year-old gunning for your title as well. Like how do you Slater, how do you tune out the outside noise and just stay inside of what do I do? And then Campbell, I want to hear from you as well.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, for any kid one watching, assuming that at least I'm good at this, I'm not like one of my areas of weakness is caring what other people think, caring what this is a there's a fine line here, but caring what coaches think, trying to impress a coach. You want to do that and you want to listen to a coach, but at the same time, you want, that can erode confidence if you're listening to a coach too much. So I'm working on that presently. As far as social media goes and reading that stuff, like gotten pretty good at disregarding that because oftentimes it's, some dude sitting on his mom's basement. But even if it's not, even if it's somebody prevalent saying that stuff about you, the first way that I respond to it is you know, okay, like that's motivation. You said this, I'm gonna prove you wrong. It's like cliche, but that's how I choose to respond to that. I use it as motivation. I know probably neither of us rely on motivation because that comes and goes, but when I get motivation from something like that, I welcome it because that's the cherry on top to the discipline that I already have. But yeah, you gotta back to the coaches thing, absolutely value their opinion, but I'm working on it's professional baseball, so stuff gets said, and let it, you can't let it like erode your confidence. And for me, I'll wrap this up. But for me, the thing that I like to think it starts to get selfish and cocky, but you got to think of stuff that makes you feel confident in yourself. I'm not gonna say what that is, like on the podcast, but there's two or three things that I feel are unique to me and really special for somebody my age. And so I think of those things and it makes my ego grow a little bit, which helps me feel a little more confident. Again, want to keep that inside baseball, don't want to let that get into the personal life. But sometimes you need that little ego boost to feel confident. And so I think that's okay in certain scenarios.
I love it. And Campbell, I want to hear what you said, but I think it's so important. I had a guy in the podcast, Drew Broughton, who was a professional soccer player, and he calls it healthy disrespect, like
Yeah.
this self-belief in yourself that's so strong that you sort of like, no, I am not going to give up my humanity for a coach or for someone else's opinion of me because I know me, right? And like at least a coach is in the locker room, like they see you every day. It's that outside noise of someone who's never met you, never seen you, never whatever, threatening you, whatever, racial abuse, all these sort of things that happen at the top level of sport now that you just have to tune out, and
Yeah.
it's hard, and then you have the pundits who never played in the age of social media saying don't pay attention, but then you have your brand and what you're doing and your ability to make a living that says I need to let people in, but I also need to keep them out.
Yeah.
It's a massive challenge.
It's yeah. It's a good
Yeah.
point.
Campbell, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, like Slater said, I definitely use the more negative comments as motivation to really prove them wrong or just perform better than they think they or you perform better than they think you could. Yeah, I mean, I definitely take in all the positive comments, and honestly, I stay away from social media during like competition or just before, like during competition. And I tend to read all the comments after, and most of the time I just laugh because they're, like Sayer said, just a random dude in their basement chirping away. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's hard though, right? Because like even when you turn it off, it's out there, right? And
Yeah,
when things
Yeah.
don't go well, that's when there's more of them out there. And the higher your
yeah,
profile,
Always, man.
the more basement dwellers are paying attention to you. And it's a hard thing, you know. So yeah, I hear you. Someone told me when I started writing books, they said don't ever read your one-star reviews because they'll never be helpful, right? They'll never
Nope.
be helpful. A three-star review is like, okay, well, this is what's good and this is what's not. But the one star is just some idiot who's never written a book saying that you're stupid or you don't know what you're talking about. And so maybe that's my little advice to you guys. Don't read your one-star reviews.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's
To your
good.
point,
That's good
also, I
advice.
think you mentioned, John, you said that when we're not at the pinnacles of our sport yet, but we very well might be if we continue on the path that we're on. You do have a brand to hold up, like another like a goal of mine and probably Campbell's is to like grow the sport of swimming, at least in our respective communities. And part of that is having an image, and that means social media, and that means having a personality that people can recognize. And so putting yourself out there, but also not putting yourself, but like controlling that image at the same time is like hard to navigate and something that I'm learning about because I'm 3 weeks into being a pro athlete. So that's another thing that's like people probably don't think about very often, but like you want to be popular at the end of the day and you want to help grow the sport, but you also don't want to attract negative attention and seem egotistical. So it's something that you have to like walk on a tightrope with.
Yeah. Well, there's a great line in Dr. Seuss that says, "The people who mind don't matter, and the people who matter don't mind." And it's always sort of good advice to
Yeah.
take as you travel on your journey of like really focus on, the people who really care and love and know you. Their opinions are the ones that matter, and they don't mind the mistake. They're there for you when things aren't going well. It's the fickle people who you can get stuck on, who are on, or, Team Slater or Team Campbell until you have a bad week or a bad month or a bad year, and then they disappear, and they're not super helpful people to keep around in your life.
Yeah.
All right, gents, I know you both have busy, busy lives. Campbell, you're just finishing up some downtime after the World Championships before you head off to University of Texas. And Slater, you're back at the grind tomorrow here in Sarasota, Florida. Any parting thoughts, starting with you, Campbell, for young swimmer or any athlete who sees what you've achieved by age 18, national champion, world championships, bronze medalists, and all this sort of stuff. Any advice that you would give to them or to their parents or coaches? Last little thought. I know this is a big question. So.
Um, I mean, I already have something in mind for either young swimmers or just young athletes in
Mhm.
general. I've always said do the unseen work. You just do the work that nobody else sees, and that'll get you to the next level.
Mm, it's great, great advice, man. Great advice. Slater, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of invokes some thought in me. You got to be okay with people not, recognizing you for stuff. You got to be okay with not being seen for a long time. You got to be okay with disappearing for a long time. You got to be okay with being disconnected from social life and sometimes academics. If you want to, get to the top of your sport, you got to be okay with that. It's all about making sacrifices, but it's pretty easy to make the sacrifice when you love something. That can be, for some people that's in a relationship, sacrifice something, be in a relationship with somebody. In my life, sacrificing stuff to achieve my baseball dreams, but it's easy when you love it. So, but you got to be okay with throwing away some fun stuff.
Mm,
But it should be worth it in the end.
mm. Guys, thank you both so much. This is really insightful. I have to think any parent listening who's got a kid would say, "Hey, just listen to this hour and these two guys who are on this pathway and really a high level, high performance pathway. What they've done, how they approach it, what they tune out, what they tune in. This is super, super helpful. So I truly appreciate you both being on Way of Champions. And my hope is maybe in a couple years we'll revisit this. Slater, you'll be a major leaguer. Campbell, you'll be an Olympic gold medalist. How's that? Or at least an Olympian to start, right? How's that sound? And
Yeah,
and we can do this again and say, okay, what did you learn since then? That would be pretty fun. So, guys, thank you so, so much for
We got
being
to
on the
it
manifest
would
that
be.
moment. We said it right now. What is it? August 15th, 2025. Give
There we
us let's go 4 years. We'll go 2029. Last year you won an Olympic gold medal. I made my debut this year. All right, there we go. It's been said.
there we go. And
Perfect.
and and I've done a podcast a week for another 4 years. So thanks for heaping that on me as well. So I appreciate that.
Oh,
Guys,
there we
thanks
Yeah.
for
go.
thanks for being on. Well, thank you all for listening. I think that was a really important podcast to do. I'm so glad I did that. Two young guys just turned 18. Campbell McKean, um, national champion 50 and 100-meter breaststroke, world champion, bronze medalist. Just so much ahead of him, so much behind him as well. Slater de Brun, Baltimore Orioles, first round draft pick, um, big contract, big signing bonus, and in the minor leagues, scraping by every day, trying to get a little bit better. But hopefully, you got some insight. And if you have kids who are, on this path and trying to get better, that you can share it with them. Like it's not easy, and these guys are unique. It's not normal what they gave up or how they approach sport and how they deal with the good times and the bad times. Um, but I think it's a really, really important lesson because I hear a lot from people like, "Oh, my kid is special," or "My kid's an elite performer," or "My kid's on the elite team." And my question is, are they really? Because what Campbell and Slater just shared is what that mentality really is, what that approach to practice really is, what those choices are really are from day to day of what you choose to do and what you choose to not do, the good things, the fun times with friends that you sacrifice on that true high performance journey. So I hope you enjoyed that and I hope you got a lot out of it. And if you have any input or whatever, comment on stuff or, send me, email John at changingthegameproject.com. But this is what we try to do here. We try to support everyone at every level of sport to make it a great experience and also support those who are trying to win Olympic and world championships and pursue a professional career, and their coaches and their parents and everyone who supports them as well. Okay. So thank you to Sprocket Sports. Thank you to everyone who's supported us and helped us put out this podcast by buying books and becoming premium members, becoming Patreon podcast champions. All that stuff is in the show notes. So if you want to become a supporter, please do. And the best way you can support to start is subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you listen to. And this episode right here, share it with one or two or five people. and say, hey, listen to this. This is really good insight, because I think it was. Okay. So remember, everyone, your influence is never neutral. Go out there, influence the athletes in your life today, influence the teammates in your life. And we'll see you again next week, everybody.